Welcome to Aha!
Okay.
A human among humans. I have one of my most favorite humans, if not my favorite human, to truth be told. This is Michelle Scow. I'm Michael Koran. This is Ash Wednesday, and we are going to explore the story about Jesus that inspired Ash Wednesday, his journey into the wilderness. The setting is a Jewish prophet called John, eventually called John the Baptist, because people would come to him when he was in the River Jordan, which is smaller than the Charles River, actually, more like the Mystic River, honest. He'd be standing in it, people would come, and he'd say, "Repent of your sins and be born again," and he'd push them under the water, and they would come up, and it's quite an experience, especially he's saying that. And you feel, oh, all those parts of me that were bothering me I'm cleansed, an inside bath and shower. So he's doing this, and Jesus, called Jeshua then, comes to be baptized and forgiven of his sins. And John is amazed. He's knowing that the energy of this man is like, what? He's unlike the other people. But he does it. And as he does it, they imagine or hear a voice from heaven saying, "This is my son," or with you it would be my daughter. "I am well pleased." Wouldn't that be nice to hear from some maybe goddess? "Michelle, I am very pleased with all the hard work you're doing, helping people, being such a good friend of Michael's." Those are the two things. And a good and a loving member of your family. So after this transforming experience...
Was it John that heard the message? The Baptist?
I think it was everybody.
Oh.
We don't know. If we weren't there.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But it just says a voice came out of heaven. And maybe people could feel it. But, oh my, the man was beautiful before, and now he seems transformed again. I mean, the usual teaching is that Jesus had no sins. I like to think he was like all human beings. And sin isn't so horrible. In Hebrew, the word sin means missing the mark with an arrow, missing the bullseye. So, okay, you miss some, you get some. It's not like this. Your life is messed and you're stuck. Just missing the mark. One philosopher, a friend of mine, Kierkegaard, said Jesus brought sin into the world because when he had a loving connection between people, I can feel this myself. Once you feel how nice it is to love somebody, and if you mess it up, it feels so bad. Bad. It's like you're eating well and you eat the wrong food and You're stuck. What's going on? We were doing so well. It was in the past. It was okay. So, however you want to look at it, there's, of course, many, many ways. But afterwards, which I can understand, Jesus goes into the wilderness all by himself and fasts for 40 days, 40 nights. Maybe like John the Baptist on locusts and honey. But he does fast and he is hungry. Not as if, I'm sure, there's a new hymn coming through, a new power, and he wants to get to know that. And this is how Lent begins. And guess what? I looked it up so I know. Guess what Lent means?
Is it the dust you pull out of the dryer?
Wow! Oh my! I never thought. What's that called?
That's
Lint. Lint. It comes from the word lengthen, because days are now getting longer.
Oh.
That's all. That's what it means.
Okay.
And good Catholic that you might have been once, and maybe will be again. You never know. Good Catholics give up something for Lent. So we can start. Well, I think we're going to start with a poem. Just to warm us up. If I have it. Yes. We can just warm us up for what we are planning on giving up for Lent. So this is Madeline L'Engle. Did she write a children's book?
She did. I wonder what she wrote. I know that she did.
It's not Spider's Web, is it? No. I don't.
No,
That might have been.
that was someone else, yeah.
So we don't know. We don't know much, but we're trying to share. Okay, so if you would like to read this or part of it,
Okay.
and when you get tired, I'll take the rest.
Okay.
This is called For Lent by Madeline L'Engle. And L'Engle means angel, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wish I could remember what she wrote, actually.
We'll find
to look
our,
it up.
our viewers.
Yeah.
This is Cambridge. Everybody knows. Everybody but us knows.
Okay. It is my Lent to break my Lent, to eat when I would fast, to know when slender strength is spent, take shelter from the blast, when I would run with wind and rain, to sleep when I would watch. It is my Lent to smile at pain, but not ignore its touch.
Okay, maybe you can put these words on the screen if you want to.
Here. There it is.
Yeah,
That's not it.
No, that's the words for. Maybe we should give that up. I think that's too challenging for us. It is my Lent to listen well when I would be alone, to talk when I would rather dwell in silence, turn from none who call on me, to try to see that what is truly meant is not my choice. If Christ I be, it's thus I'll keep my Lent. So I believe it means, we'll try again, it is my Lent to break my Lent, to eat when I would fast. Okay, for me this might be good. I eat some small meals. Okay, time to just break your habits. To know when slender strength is spent. Take shelter from the blast when I would run with wind and she'd rather run in the wind and rain, but now she's going to take it easy, even though she doesn't want to do that. The Lent is okay. So it's an interesting poem. To sleep when I would watch. I like to stay up. I want to stay up, but my Lent is to go to sleep. It is my Lent to smile at pain. Oy, 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 oy. My Lent is for the next 40 days. Hi, pain. Hello. How you doing? But not ignore its touch. I'm not going to just, smile it away. This is a good Lent. I think her resolutions.
Yeah, it's confusing. Personally, but.
Oh. Well, and what's confusing?
Well, there's so many different things. How can you concentrate on so many different things? It's hard to eat when you would fast. Like, I don't know.
And that's enough.
For me, it's like...
That's enough?
But even that is... Can you really do that? I don't...
To eat, she'd like to fast, and she's with people and they're having a feast.
Uh-huh.
That's what she said.
I'd say, yeah, I don't know. I find it, like...
Not so...
A lot of things.
Too much.
Yeah.
Then I will take a hint. My Lent is to take hints and not force this poem. So that was supposed to be an easy slide into what we're going to do for Lent. And it turned into way more complicated.
I mean, I guess she's just trying to say all these different ways that you can approach Lent.
Yes, you can. Mm-hmm. You can. Don't have to be a nice little girl. You can. Mm-hmm. You can feast. Mm-hmm. Gee, when you want to stay up, and do your chores, you can sleep. We'll leave it at those two. Mm-hmm. So, what will our Lent be? And this is not just a viewer-supported program. We would like you to ask that question, especially if you're with someone, but even alone. Whether this is particularly your spiritual tradition or not, all Christians do this. Protestants, Catholics, I don't know about Eastern Orthodox.
If they're following the practice.
Yes, if they're following the practice. What will we give up? This is the first Lent I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. I wasn't raised, I was baptized Catholic, but my priest who baptized me used to, instead of teaching me what Catholicism was about, he kept asking me, because I was studying theology at the University of Chicago, and he was a simpler Catholic, Irish Catholic priest. Okay, Michael, please tell me. And he kept asking me, if God is in heaven and omnipotent, how come we have such a miserable world? Explain it to me, Michael. So we would have these great talks instead of me learning about Lent. Okay, so what are we going to give up?
What are you going to give up?
Oh, I thought I asked first.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just trying to eat healthier, and I did the first of the year. I was interested in Wendy Speak did a 40-day sugar fast, which was based on Lent, but she did it at the beginning of the year, and her whole thing was to just find God through, she would offer scripture passages, but the problem was you had to go on Facebook to get them. I thought it was going to come in my email every day. It didn't.
Oh.
So it didn't really work for me. I thought it was an interesting idea, even though I'm not deeply religious, but it was appealing to me. And I do think there's a lot to be said. So, her idea was to find comfort in the teachings, Bible passages, and while you're struggling with the difficulty of giving up sugar. So this, I get to try again.
Oh my!
And
so you're gonna give up sugar? Artificial sugar.
Yeah, artificial sugar.
Wow.
Yeah, for 40 days. So.
Whoa, and 40 nights.
And the date, what's the date it ends?
It ends the Mardi Gras, I believe, where you have a feast.
Yeah, we'll have to find out the date, because it's easy to put that in the head.
Yes.
The date.
40 days from today.
Mm-hmm. So that's a month plus
10 days.
10 days, yeah.
So, because March is the same dates as February. Because February has 28 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, today is
22nd, I think.
Let's see, Valentine's Day was the 14th.
22nd.
Yes, the 22nd.
Yeah.
So March 22nd would be 28 days.
Okay.
So, and 9 more days in March would be 37 days. So very close to April Fool's Day, April 3rd.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Will be probably Mardi Gras.
All right.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good. Habits are so, it's so funny if, thanks to you, I have these sandal shoes that don't need socks. And so I can go out in the morning when you call and walk. If I had to put on socks, it might be too much. It's funny. Habits need to be, really easy. So I can understand if they sent it to you email. Is there a way to make this easy for you? Yes, any answers?
Yeah. That's a great inquiry. That's a really nice inquiry. Yeah, you come up with good.
I bribe a friend of mine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have a friend of mine who loves soda, Coke and Pepsi, and I bribed him. I gave him something that he wanted in exchange for each day he did it. And we keep a record. And he proudly says, I did it today. So I could bribe you. Oh, wow, I could do that if you want.
Yeah, if you want.
Okay, so.
It's a lot of work on your part.
And this is, no, it's just, well, not necessarily. This is not just a private conversation. The whole world is watching. So what reward would you, I'm afraid to ask, and the reward is to ask me to do something that's uncomfortable for me that you would like, but you haven't because you're concerned. What could I do that you would like, that you can possibly say on television after the 40 days of no artificial sugar?
I have to think of it.
Is there somewhere you'd like to be taken? Okay, so you can tell me.
Uh-huh.
And if we wanted to make it really hard, when you plan to get married in the Orthodox Jewish tradition, you take, when you get engaged, you take a plate and you break it in two. Give one half of the plate to the bride and the other to the groom, because they knew how people were. And then you had a pledge, something really, at the wedding, you're supposed to both come with the plate. If you're not there, and I've had a friend of mine who was twice stood up at the wedding.
Wow.
And when I got married, I really didn't want to do it, but I did it because I said so. But if you don't come with your half of the plate, you have to pay, like if you're a bus driver and you make like $40,000 a year, you have to pledge $20,000 to the bride if you don't show up.
Oh.
And the bride has to do something similarly very painful if she, yes, like if she loved her car and you didn't have one. If she didn't show up, you got her Volvo, her new Volvo. So, if you want to, in front of this huge audience, you can say what you would do for me. If you don't have to, I'm putting you on the spot.
I see.
But you could, or you could think about it, just like you think of what you would do that would be uncomfortable if you didn't. If you saw those Lorna Dunes next Monday afternoon, it's a snowy Monday and it's cold and you worked 9 hours as a nurse taking care of people. You're totally out of energy and they're right there. It's not like, you have to go buy them. So if you want to, say, if you'd succumb to temptation, what you would give me, you can, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to. I mean, there's easy things I would like more editing of heels, which you've done so dedicatingly for 3 versions. But it'd be nice, a whole another 31 edits. No, 40 edits, I'm sorry. One for each day of length. And I would, if you called up and said I had a Lorna Dune, instead of feeling, I feel sad for you, I really felt so unhappy that you had that Lorna Dune. But I'm not allowed to bring them over and leave them on your doorstep. I'm not allowed to do that. So that's how it works.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Yeah, I could say I would edit again.
40 pages.
40 pages.
Wow.
If I break my sugar contract and
And you have one.
I have this.
Yeah, and I have this. We show up.
Okay, so
and
then the positive thing would be.
She came up with it. Whoa, that was quick.
I don't know.
I mean, if you can't tell the audience, you can tell me.
I guess. Right. I mean, I could go to Zaz for the chocolate cheesecake, which I love. I don't know if that's a great thing to do if you're trying to give up sugar, have a sugar report.
No. Yeah, the thing is you want, just like you said, what you would do if you don't keep it. You can say what you would like if you keep it.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yes, what you'd like. That's not bad. You like to be treated to...
Zaz.
That's fair. Because it's just one special. You're not going to then get necessarily onto it.
Yeah.
If you want that.
I know. It's funny because in the past I have often just thought it was so great, but I think I feel so yucky right now that it's not 100%.
So you can think maybe there's somewhere you'd like to go that I wouldn't want to go again. Visit someone I don't want to visit. So you can think about it.
Right.
Something I would be at that. See, that's too comfortable. That's easy for me to do.
Yeah.
Now, for mine, it might be harder.
Okay.
I know what it is, but it's harder. It's not as clear as yours. I'm sure I'm not. I don't even know, because maybe this is impossible. But I was with, we'll call her my younger sister, someone else like a sister, and I'm like a teacher to her. And I just spent an unpleasant time with her trying that, and I said, I don't want to teach her. I was, parts of it, it was just lovely parts of the time to just enjoy being with her and not being my usual teaching self, which I, as you can see, I'm so comfortable with. So but I've had fun doing this with you. I would love to have fun being a teacher and resist, as you see, this isn't clear, maybe for 40 days. Wow. Resist being a teacher unless both me and the person I'm teaching is having fun. To just, like, you look like you were enjoying this little game we were playing. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to keep that feeling as soon as I start to say something to someone about what nonviolent communication like, if we're both not laughing, I'm going to stop. So it's like sugar, but I'll be having a bite and saying, oh, this person's not laughing. Okay, nope. Mm-hmm. Is that clear?
Yeah.
And if I don't do that, what would you like? Jeez. I'm not sure I can, but I give you something just like you're giving me 40 days of editing. What would you like if I don't do that? You don't need to answer now. You mm-hmm. Think about it. Mm-hmm. And what would I do if I don't do that?
You could have the floor redone in your apartment.
Wow! I actually want to do that. Okay, but I will.
But it seems like there's so much resistance over so many
years. I want to do the decks and then do that. So that will be my...
It's that, and then the decks first, and then the...
I think we could, the decks would give them somewhere to put
okay, all right, yeah. Okay.
But only if I don't do that. And what I will do is, if I catch myself teaching with people not laughing, because I'm not my students are, my classes are on a break now, so I can really not be a teacher. I won't teach, period, for the following day. Or just, if I catch myself, not doing what I want to do, then the following day I'm just not going to try to help people, period, with teaching things. I'll just listen.
You mean if you catch yourself
teaching and people not enjoying it?
Not enjoying it.
The next day I'm just going to mumps the word. I'm not going to be, I'm just going to be quiet and listen and play. Wow. That's pretty somewhat clear or not?
And then what's the positive thing you get if...
Oh, if I do it?
Yeah.
Oh, because what are you getting if you do it? I forgot already.
Trip to Zaz.
Oh, yes. I mean, I'll take editing for that too. That's not fair though, because I don't think that's fair of you to ask of you. What else would I like? I'll think about it, okay? But it's not hard for me to go to Zaz, so I have to think of something easy for you to do that you would like. So this is if I do it. Oh, I'd love to go to the Arboretum again. Is that fair?
I guess.
Too easy?
It would be too easy, but...
Okay, if I do it, wow.
That's fine.
I'll think of something.
That's fine.
No, I'll think of something you wouldn't ordinarily like to. I mean, I'd love to play tennis with you, but I don't think you can.
Yeah.
You can't try, right? To play tennis? No. And we do play
shoulder.
We do play basketball.
Yeah.
I will see.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So if I do it, I get a reward. I'll have to think what it would be. Well, it could be like...
The Arboretum's fine. That's fine.
Let's see, is there somewhere else I'd like to go? I'll think of it. There might be somewhere else I'd like to go. Oh, I love the Arboretum. We'll see. Okay, now that you've been fascinated by our... We are now going to explore Jesus in the wilderness, if that's okay. Okay. Because you don't know this story, right?
I probably know a little bit of it.
You want to read it once, or you want...
Sure.
Or part of it, and when you get tired, I can read it.
Yeah. Jesus is tested in the wilderness. And what is this from? What section?
From the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 4, very early in the Gospel.
Okay.
This is right after he was baptized by John the Baptist. He left and went all alone. It was like he had so much power in him, but, he didn't know if he could handle it well. He's smart enough to know, I'm going to be by myself.
Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread." Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. "If you are the Son of God," he said, "throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands." "So that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Jesus answered him, "It is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their splendor. "All of this I will give you," he said, "if you will bow down and worship me."
Gee.
Jesus said to him, "Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Then the devil left him, and the angels came and attended him.
That's it.
Okay.
So, any feelings, thoughts?
Well, I like the idea of fasting, going into the wilderness. I think there's something spiritual that happens when you embark on something like that. So I get a little confused about the devil because...
Well, you can look upon it as your
I mean,
I mean,
black and white thinking. I'm not sure.
Oh, I understand. Yes.
Yeah, I don't.
It would mean that
I often feel a little nervous about black and white thinking.
yes, you might be able to relate to it. It's the part of you that wants the Lorna Doone, and the other part that says no, and the Lorna Doone part seems to win sometimes.
Right, yeah. But you can break it down to, right, so ultimately the higher long-term goal isn't being met. And it's a need for, it's a variety of needs. It's just the strategy isn't working with the Lorna Doone. So the need is for energy, it's for comfort, it's for when feeling depleted, wanting something given. So it's a need for nourishment, a need for care, a need for pause, a need for change of energy. So, I mean, that's... I don't see that as the devil, but I guess if I'm trying to... the long-term goal is for health and just to, feel better. So, yeah, ultimately trying to do that. So I'm not, it's changing habits and coming up with better strategies and slowing down, and I don't know, it's the whole thing of addiction. How do you work with an addiction?
Yes.
Yeah. So, right. Yeah, so I don't, so, yeah, I don't know, I do have a hard time with the idea of, I don't even think black is all that bad, for that matter. For black and white thinking, there's a lot of merit, in the dark and the night and all that. So I guess, I don't know. It's funny. I feel wary of it. The whole idea of Satan and the devil, for some reason.
No,
so, yeah. It's not the language I speak necessarily, and I feel a little like, because I think it lends itself to people not trying to, it's just like, oh, that is evil, that is, instead of trying to really understand and
what's going on,
and get to deeper levels and try to.
That's right. Instead of calling it a devil, you're saying,
like, unravel the knot, or
yes, that it's the need for comfort, it's the need for nourishment, the need for energy,
right, and also
after
the
working
need for,
hard so hard,
right, and it's a need for being frustrated. So I don't know what that is, but a need for
calm,
expressing frustration.
Yes, or getting your frustration out,
right, and so
you use different language.
Yeah.
And you use the word addiction. There could be some powerful drive that's addictive. Also.
Right. Yeah. That you just keep doing it, and you wake up the next morning. You're like, why did I?
Yes.
I don't feel good. I did this again, and
so.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah.
Christian people, at least in the past, and probably still now, certainly Jesus, for better or worse, call the addictive parts, especially, they called it, of course the word devil wasn't in Aramaic, but they called it Satan. You read Satan here. Mm-hmm. So you might not agree with it, and I might agree with you, But at least we could understand that he's talking about that addictive energy that's doing a war against his more better nature, or his higher, or his better angel even. So we might not agree, but that's the language that is used there.
Mm-hmm.
More modern would be, how can I may have a friend who's trying to get away from drugs, or drugs. That's a killer. So it might be helpful calling it addiction, or I'd agree with you, but this is the language at least Jesus used. We might have a good conversation with him now. And can we understand? So the first one is, it's about food. He's fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. None of this. In Ramadan, you can eat at night. You fast during the day. And it says even before this, which is, for me, interesting, you can stop me if it's not, that the Spirit, and it said when he was baptized, the Holy Spirit was like a dove, and he had this feeling of peace and being blessed and being right with God, whatever you want to call God, just really right in himself, and maybe he entered in with nature. And the Spirit led him into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. His good Spirit, his Holy Spirit. What's going on? Why would the Holy Spirit want him? I think I understand. I was just asking you. But I'm going to stop before answering that to tell a story about an unpleasant part of me. So I do not want to eat my tofu ice cream before I go to bed. I've got nice chocolate chip tofu ice cream in the freezer, a whole round bin. And I do not want to eat it, and I pray. I say, God, this is true story. Mm-hmm. God, please help me not eat that tofu ice cream. And again, I'm not making this up. I hear a voice inside me, and it says, you must be kidding. Honest, this is a true story. Go and eat that ice cream. And I do. I have no power. I mean, I could have kept, but it was just so. So this is how it helps me relate to this. And I knew it wasn't a good voice, although if I knew you then, we might have looked at it, right? And said I was all alone. I needed some comfort late at night. I'm going to bed. I didn't know how to comfort myself. And so that would be maybe a more healthy way to look at it, because then I would have options. I could say, well, maybe I could find a friend, which I do now, and I could pray with them late at night, or sing lullabies with to go to sleep with. So the advantage of what you're saying and not calling it the devil is once we understand what we're feeling and needing, as you suggested, we could find other strategies beside eating the chocolate chip ice cream. Thank you very much for a new understanding of the temptation in the wilderness. Wow. And still be able to not eat the ice cream then. Because I can call someone and say, could you please sing a lullaby with me? Wow. Well, we still have...
You were going to say something about this, weren't you?
The tempter came to him and said, we can do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Son of God. So he feels this great power in him.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes feel that, and it's a good sign I'm going to mess things up. Wow! Yeah. And I often, unfortunately, then start telling people what they can do to make a better life, and they don't like that at all. It took me, I'm a little slow. It took me, decades to realize people don't like it when I'm trying to help them have a better spiritual belief than they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm brilliant. I finally got it. Okay. So this one is...
It reminds me of... You remember Garrison Keillor?
Tell me.
Larry in the basement?
No.
He kind of lived in the basement, and he always had these grand ideas about everything. Yeah, but it never really worked. I don't know. There's just something about it where you can, in your head, you can think you know all sorts of things. I
am the greatest. I have the power.
But you're living in the basement. You're not connected to people.
Living in 2 rooms with a roommate. I have the power. It's just too embarrassing. Oh my, but I did this when I was, let's say, a hurting human. I don't even want to call me crazy anymore, because that, like you said, is too much of a label. So hurting human, I had a friend of mine who I just talked to this week, still friends from the University of Chicago, was not accepted into the PhD program. We were on the Committee on Social Thought. And he took the test, which I kind of passed. I needed a little, and they said, you're not good enough. And I was so, I didn't know this. I was hurt and angry, but I also think I felt I would be correctly left by him, because he would have to leave the university. And so I thought, I wrote a note and put it on the bulletin board of the chairman of my committee, of the whole committee, and I said, the chairman, David Green, who's a great teacher of mine, is no longer on the Committee on Social Thought because he does not take care of his students. It wasn't even quite true, but in some ways none of them did. They taught us. I don't even want to. I had one wonderful teacher who would sit with me and we'd read we'd read for a year, we'd read the same dialogue of Plato. And so it was really caring. So it was wrong. I was just a hurting human and lonely that my friend and probably and I said, you're not on the Committee on Social Thought, of course, to put that on the bulletin board. I wrote it in a letter, too, in the mail. And they decided that in a few days, they told me I wasn't on the committee anymore. And I was not totally unaware that these were violent times, and I think a professor had been shot on campus. So I was really pretending to be really dangerous, somewhere in the back of my mind. So I had the same, if you are, I thought I had the power and would kick him off the committee with my words. So that is often called delusional. With knowing you, you might think of a nicer way to understand that, maybe.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, being hurt and not feeling the sense of belonging and worried about your friend and also the power, like that they have the power to do that, and not like wishing maybe you had the power. Yeah. Really. Yeah. And trying to enact it.
Yes, this is so nice. You can call this, Michelle is actually a wellness nurse. Mm-hmm. well, a good title for her job. So that's a much nicer way than saying I was just delusional.
Right, yeah. Yeah. And then I don't know who could have helped, a guidance counselor or...
I was a long way from help. I went to see a therapist. I don't even want to go there. No, I was... It gets coupled with arrogance. If you're the Son of Man, tell these stones to become bread. Mm-hmm. So he feels like there's something, I could feel that, in our powerlessness. And I wasn't that powerless, but I was maybe scared to be lonely, scared that I couldn't keep my friend Stuart studying with me. So he hears, but he's able to not do it. Mm-hmm. If I had listened, if I had read this well because I knew it, I would have said to that voice inside, or that urge to write that note, I would have said in this language, get away from me, voice. But if I knew you, we'd say, voice, we need to talk and find out why you want to do such an outlandish thing. Mm-hmm. And in his day, he's just saying, which is very different and dangerous, because then people push away this voice instead of trying to understand it and have compassion for it and finding out, as you would say, a strategy so that it can get what it needs. So maybe I could have said to my urge and voice, like, you need to talk to even a friend about this. I had friends in the committee. Mm-hmm. Tell them this is what you feel like doing, and maybe make plans to keep in touch with my friend after he left. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. So we're giving a new reading of the temptation in the wilderness. We only have 3 minutes, and there's 2 more. I don't want to rush it. Mm-hmm. So I think we should just sum it up. We've done a lot. Mm-hmm. We've talked about temptation, and instead of just stomping on it, we've, maybe in the spirit of Jesus, wanting to be loving toward it and understanding. And there's more I could say, but I want, maybe you can, in the last minute and a half, sum up what we've read and what Lent now means to you, if you would like. Well, let me put you on the spot. If you don't want to, you can say, I had a girlfriend who said, Michael, say something funny.
Well, I do think that it's a spiritual practice to do something like, Lent, the 40 days and 40 nights. I still think that's really valuable, and I guess with temptations, I hope to approach it as trying to remember is the strategy for, really ultimately the best strategy for what is the needs that are really being expressed, or,
That's very, very beautiful. I would never have come up with that with my University of Chicago training. Thank you so much. So we wish you and pray that we be kind to our urges, all of them, all parts of ourselves. Blessings.